everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Angel Storm. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm answering one of your questions. I got a great question sent to me by a woman. I'm going to call her Darcy just for anonymity. And she asked me if I would do a video that would summarize all of the things that you get if you do the healing process correctly from your experience with a narcissist. And I really loved her message. In fact, I want to read it to you. Again, I'm leaving her anonymous just because I don't know her situation and I don't know that she wants her name out there. So she says, I came across your YouTube videos today and I have been co-parenting, quote unquote, with a narcissist for 5 years now. I love your spiritual outlook on it as well. This is what I am currently trying to focus on. And do you have, and if you don't, I would love to see you do a video on what we get out of dealing with these people. For example, I have found myself again, and I'm so confident in my self-worth. I have learned to respond instead of react to him. I can actually see that the things that he is trying to pull, sometimes even before he pulls them. I know I need to constantly remind myself of these bonuses, but I love listening to it as well from others. It's very reassuring. Thank you, and I love your videos. So you guys, I thought about this, and I know that I've talked about the benefits of going through the healing process correctly through many of my videos, but I don't know that I've ever done a summary of all of those things. So my assistant, Sarah, actually sent me that a screenshot of her message right as I was going on a run yesterday. And I was thinking about it while I was running. And there's just so many benefits in my life personally that I know I've gotten from the narcissist. And it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, I was filming a video. So y'all have probably already seen it by now. In which I talk about this very crucial moment for me in the turning of my healing process. It was such a distinct day to me that I can still remember what I was wearing and what time of day it was and where I was sitting in my house and all of this kind of stuff when it happened. And that was that I really felt God tell me to thank him for the narcissist. And I at first said, yeah, okay, thanks for the narcissist, and was trying to move on with what I was doing. I felt him say, like, no, I really want you to thank me for the narcissist. And so I just sat in that moment for a second to think about why and to think about that statement. And it was at a point where I knew that I hadn't fully forgiven the narcissist. So I still was dealing with a lot of anger and really deep sadness and regret and shame and just a whole bunch of emotions that I hadn't processed yet. This was in the middle of that. And instead of trying to like push that away, I really just sat with all of those things. And for me, it was recognition that there was a blessing that I wasn't getting at that moment. In that moment, I recognized I need to be thankful for something, and I have no thankfulness in my life right now. So I'm missing something. God is telling me to be thankful. I'm not thankful. So there's something missing in between where I am and where I should be at this exact moment. Not like in the future I'm going to be healed, but in this moment, I should be in a different place than where I am. My heart posture needs to change. That was such a crucial moment for me. So just so you know, at that point, I didn't have started my my YouTube channel. I hadn't been talking to people publicly in terms of what I was going through or what I had been through. I was really just kind of in my own cave trying to heal myself. So at this point, I really wasn't sharing everything with other people. And I had no idea that eventually I would start a business off of the experience that I had gone through. So when I think about everything that I've been through with the narcissist, for me personally, I know, number one, I have such clear discernment. I'm able to tell people who are energy vampires from a long ways away, even if they're not narcissists. These people could just be self-aware, not self-aware, where they're just takers. They're just takers because they don't have things in their life figured out yet, and they need other people in order to fuel them. And they don't necessarily need to be narcissists. I have videos where I talk about the difference between just somebody who isn't self-aware and a narcissist, somebody who's just a jerk, like who's just choosing to be self-focused, but they're not meeting the definitions to be a narcissist. So that's possible. It's possible to have those types of people in your life. And so number one, I know that something that I gained through this process is discernment. I can tell when somebody is asking me questions for their own gain in not a healthy way or healing way. I can tell when they're trying to just suck or drain the energy from me. So discernment. Number two thing that I've gotten through this process, and by the way, these aren't really in order. These are just like things that I was thinking about, again, not in any kind of particular order. But number two, I know myself as well. So just like Darcy said in her message to me, I have so much self-confidence. I'm very aware of who I am. Absolutely. Because it took away, my experience with a narcissist took away every other kind of thing that I had gained my identity from. So during the process, by the way, you can go check out my whole testimony video because it's way too long to explain everything that I've gone through. But at the time, I was working for the government, and I had a career that I had very carefully and meticulously planned that path forward. I had created a niche for myself purposefully since I was a teenager. So giving up that, something that I had been working in and identified as since my entire adult life, that was taken away. Every other kind of thing that I really found my identity in was taken away during this time, and I had to rebuild everything, literally every aspect of my life. Not one single part of my life was left untouched by this experience with a narcissist. And so I started over completely. And in that rebuilding process, I made sure that I was building it exactly on stuff that couldn't be taken, on things that couldn't be shaken. And I think in one of my social media posts recently, I was talking about this, like, invest in the stuff that can't be taken from you. Every kind of thing that's external to you can be taken from you. But if you invest in your identity, if you invest in your character, if you invest in building the traits that you need in order to be an entrepreneur or successful in your career field and things like that, those things can't be taken from you. So it really shifted my perspective on who I was, where I was investing my time, what was really important to me, and what I wanted to do moving forward. Which brings me to number 3. Although my job, my career was taken from me, actually it was such a blessing because it pushed me to do something with this tragic experience that I had and to create a life where I wasn't tied to earning money based on how many hours I worked. I loved my old job. I loved my career, so I don't want to make it seem like I was unhappy there, but it wasn't, and I was doing the right thing for me at that time, but my purpose in life was much bigger than that, and I don't think anything short of what I went through would have moved me from leaving that position, from leaving that career to do, and certainly not to do what I do now. I didn't even know what kinds of things were happening in family court and in society as a whole, really, because of the lack of education on narcissism, on how to tell red flags, on boundaries, and all this kind of stuff that I talk about now. I knew them in theory. I didn't know them like practically. I never had experienced that. And so there definitely wouldn't have been anything to shift me into what I'm doing now. But I would say even to leave that position that I had, I was probably not going to ever change my job, change my career path, change my life course either. So that's number 3. And I think for me, well, before I say that, let me say number 4, throughout this whole process, I found out who my true friends were. There was nothing, and I doubt that there will ever be anything that will show me who is truly there for me. I've been in 2 wars, and not even those experiences compared to the time that I was dealing with a narcissist. I learned exactly who my true friends were. Do you know I had friends fly in from all over the country to come and sit with me in the hospital when my daughter was sick? I had people, like, literally just so much support poured out for me. I didn't even know that I had so many great people in my life. And I am internally grateful, and I am truly thankful for those people. So throughout this process, it really showed me who was in my corner, and it also showed me who wasn't, by the way. And that can be also a blessing. You know, I found out exactly who wasn't, even family members. And sometimes that hard truth is difficult to look at, but it's a important part of the puzzle. You can't ignore that piece. That piece, it belongs in the puzzle. So I learned, just as much as I learned who was there for me, I learned who wasn't there for me. And finally, I want to say that during this whole thing, I recognized that there was stuff that I couldn't accomplish on my own. There was things that I had seen the height and the length of what I was able to do on my own. I had put a lot of weight into, if you want it, go get it. And by the way, I still believe that. If you want it, go get it. That nobody is stopping you. If you want to join the army when you're 17, if you want to get a doctorate by the time you're 27, if you want to speak multiple languages, you want to play a bunch of instruments, you want to travel all over the world, no one is stopping you from doing all of those things. And by the way, I did all of those things, and I did them in my own strength, and I was very self-confident in my abilities, to the point where it was a detriment to receiving from other people, and definitely with my relationship with God. And throughout this whole thing, that's the number one thing that I gained. I couldn't have found out who I am and truly how resilient somebody can be if it wasn't for my relationship with God, which I found during this process. So out of all of the things that the narcissist gave to me, a new job, right, a career path, he forced me to become an entrepreneur. I can't thank him enough for bringing me back into a place of really being so rooted in my faith and my identity from that place. That's something that can never be taken from me, and it's eternal. You know, it's not just for a moment or even for this life, for the rest of my life. It's not even for that amount of time. It's eternal. It's outside of time completely. So for that, I am grateful. For that, I am truly grateful. And through all of these things, the things I just listed to you were things that I've experienced, right? Those were things that, like, touched my life. But because of that, y'all are experiencing that. I started this YouTube channel. I'm speaking with y'all right now. Like, look at what you could get. Look at what your blessings are through this experience. Look at how it's forced you to really connect with who you are, to know yourself, and then how you're able to connect with other people on such a deeper level. I am really interested in connecting to people deeply. I'm not interested in a superficial relationship. Yeah, I have a lot of acquaintances, and that's the level of our connection, but that's not what I'm truly searching for now. When I meet people, I'm looking for the people that I should connect to, because there is such a deep level that you can connect with somebody else when you have connected with that way with yourself first. You can't. A lot of people have shallow relationships throughout their whole life because they haven't dug deep into themselves. They don't know who they are. But once that well is dug in you, once you know who you are, once you've met yourself deeply, you can give that away to somebody else, and you can connect with somebody at that deep level when they've also met themselves that deeply. So think about how those connections pour out into everything else that you do, right? Every other life that you touch. These blessings, the gifts, the good things that I've gotten from the abuse. By the way, I don't ever want to make it seem like abuse should happen because you can get blessings or because you can get something from it. That's horrible. That's a terrible way of thinking. That's a religious way of thinking. That's completely not at all true and not what my point. My point here is that no matter what happens in life, there is something good there if you're willing to look at it from a different perspective. And I did a video on the power of perspective recently as well. So there's so many things that there's, again, not one area of my life that didn't get affected by the narcissist. And I'm grateful because I had to rebuild every single one of those areas from the ground up. But this time I've rebuilt them in a way that I know that they won't be shaken. And it's forced me to get to know the person who rebuilt all of those things. I know myself on such a deeper level now that it doesn't really matter. If this would happen to me again, I already did it one time. I know I can get through it. So not that I want it to happen, right? I also believe that I came out with so much wisdom from this situation that I just wouldn't, the person who let that happen to her isn't in existence any longer. But should this ever, some other tragedy ever come by that is of this magnitude, I know that I would be able to get through it. So it, in some way, it like eliminated the fear that this would happen again and that I wouldn't be able to survive it, or that the next time it would be the end of me. It's not true. My point of doing this video isn't to just talk to you all about like how the narcissist has shifted my life. You guys probably have already gathered that if you've been watching this channel for any length of time. What I wanted to do is, if y'all would put in the comments of this video, I want to hear like what, after hearing this video, maybe it's forced you to kind of think about what has shifted in your life. And even though it was hard and it was difficult to get through that shifting process, something good came out of it. Would y'all share it with me? Would y'all put it in the comments there so that we can share with one another what things you have gained through the process of healing from narcissistic abuse? By the way, I have a private Facebook group. I monitor it my own self. The link to it is in the description of this video if you want to join. And we kind of do this type of stuff just normally. So we just are there to help each other get through the process of recovery and help hold each other accountable through that process and things like that. I monitor it, so there's no type of abuse or shame or any kind of thing like that found in that group. Please join if you need a support system. But would y'all put in the comments something that you've gained through the process of healing from narcissistic abuse, something that you wouldn't have found out about yourself or about your life, or even about your dreams and desires, your goals, your hopes for the future, if it hadn't been for the narcissist. Because sometimes I think that we focus so much on the narcissist and what the narcissist is doing to us and all of the negative things that come along with the narcissist that we never really get the full picture. We never take a look at what's on the other side as well. The positive aspects, the fact that you're coming out of this way stronger, and even as a completely different person. Maybe that person who allowed the abuse to happen needed to go away. Maybe that person needed to be done away with completely, and you needed to come who you truly are. You needed to come out. I talked about this before, but I just want to say it again really, really quickly. Most of life isn't about learning. I know we think like, oh, I'm going to learn a new skill. I'm going to learn this and that. It's great. I believe in doing that, by the way, like advancing yourself, bettering yourself. I believe in it. Most of life, though, is not about learning. Most of life is not about learning. Most of life is about remembering. Do you know that you were created with all the things that you need already inside of you? Most of life is about remembering who you are, where you came from, what you're here to do. And the purpose of connecting with other people, and especially truly connecting, not just superficially, but truly connecting, good times and bad times, and staying with them, being really good friends to people who are experiencing a rough patch in their life and all that kind of stuff, you know, they are forcing something out of you that was already inside of you. You're not looking for this stuff on the outside to complete you. You need people to help you remember who you are. And they do that by pulling it out. And that thing is pulled out only through connection. So I just want to throw that out there too. I hope that through this process, you're not just, the thing that people will tend to do is say, I never want that to happen again. So I'm putting up all of these walls around me so that I'll never have that happen again. And that actually blocks connection, right? So walls keep everybody out. Boundaries tell people where the door is. You want people to come into your life who are going to respect you, and people who are going to help you remember who you are. And you do the same for them. That comes through connection. Connection is something that should be something that you gain through this process of healing. You should be so confident in who you are, and you should be so in tune with your identity that you know there isn't any kind of way a narcissist would ever get that close to you again. That's how confident you should be in your boundaries, in your identity, in your purpose, and in your friends, in the people who are around you. So hopefully that's one of the things that you gained through the process of recovering from narcissistic abuse, is that you took a look at who you were connected to and the environments that allowed you to be connected to the narcissist, to allow that narcissist into your life, and that allowed you to stay in that relationship for however long you were there. You guys, I hope this video has helped you. If you would, please be sure to comment in the video what you gained from going through the recovery process of narcissistic abuse. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel below and turn on that little bell so that you're notified whenever I upload a new video to this channel.